Welcome, everybody, to Dead Talk Live, and it is my honor to welcome our special guest tonight, April Billingsley. April, how are you doing?
I'm doing great tonight. How are you?
I'm good. I'm very excited to have you here on the show with us. So let's just get right to it, okay?
All right.
You were in two episodes of The Walking Dead. One of them was a very, very memorable one, and we'll get to that in a second. I wanted to ask you, being a part of the Terminus gang, what do you think of the media label that people have given the Terminus people, calling them termites? I hate it.
I
Really?
I mean, I don't really I don't hate it. I don't like love it, but I mean, I don't know. I feel like for me like so much of like the horror genre is all about I don't know, I don't mind it because to me so much of the horror genre is all about like pushing boundaries and things
Yeah.
like that. Like, sure, I'll be a termite.
So I was trying to come up with a name that I would like, and I'm like, you know what? Let's try to mix Terminus and cannibals together, and I came up with Terminables.
Ooh, okay, that's pretty cool.
That's pretty
That
catchy.
that sounds way more badass than termite. Sounds like you could just step on us.
Exactly. So before we get to that infamous episode, how did you land the role of Teresa?
I auditioned and the script was like it was some of the same lines that on like that I ended up having on set, but I had no idea I was going to be a cannibal.
Mm-hmm.
I had I was like the scene like they always give dummy sides. So
Yes.
like it was just like a three-line audition and I had no clue where I was or what I was really doing, until I showed up on set, really. It was kind of and it was a fun experience. Like and I mean that genuinely, like it's just like interesting to be like, oh, that's what I'm doing. Oh, that's what it was, that type of thing.
So this was in the beginning of season five. What did you? Well, actually, end of season four, season five. What did you think when you walked onto that set? By that point, The Walking Dead was reaching its peak, especially around season five. Were you overwhelmed at the budget that was being thrown at this TV show?
It's funny because not really, because so much of like the set feels like the world feels in a way.
Yeah,
Because even though they have all this money to make it, it's still like, yeah, they built the church in the Four Walls in a Church
yeah.
episode I was in, but it felt like it'd been there forever. So they did like such a good job that you just didn't think it was like money. You just thought, oh, this is real.
Yeah.
Or like when they went to do my makeup too, instead of like like I was in an episode of The Outsiders where they gave me a wig to match my hair. It was like the exact color of my hair, and it was like a lace wig. It was HBO, and I was like, they had money because they got me. I was on the show for one day, and they got me like an $800 lace wig.
Wow.
But this show, it's like when, like for Walking Dead, when we got to the makeup, they put on some fake dirt on their hands, and they go, done.
Just make you look as raggedy as possible. Now, you were in that episode, right, with the whole barbecue thing. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
what? Just give us your initial reaction when you read you were going to be there eating someone's leg while they were still alive. Did that like freak you out? Did you like, oh my
I just
god?
showed action. I don't know that I had words for it. It was more like, it was like,
That-
okay, all
They're doing
right.
this. They're really doing this.
Yeah.
Uh, what was your experience like working with Andrew West? I heard everybody loved him, and he's just really fun to work with. Andrew West, of course, being Gareth.
Oh yeah, he was so lovely, such a wonderful human, and just so talented. Because we ate lunch together every day, and he was really nice. He was excited to get the role and be doing it, and of course he was phenomenal. So.
Now, for me as a viewer, I was really surprised on how short lived the Terminus story was. They spent the whole half season, the latter half of season 4, building up to everybody going to Terminus. But it was over in 2 or 3 episodes, pretty much. The four walls and a roof episode was really, it was the end of the Terminus people. Uh, did you? I'm sure you would have hoped it would have gone on a lot longer and you would have had more time on the show, right?
I mean, who doesn't want to work more? But I mean, also who doesn't want to get killed by Michonne? So
Exactly. And so let's just go to that infamous episode. One of the most memorable episodes to date, and they've had plenty of them, where we see just absolute rage, vengeance. You can throw a whole bunch of words into the mix that was put on display by the survivors who were against the Terminus people, that they shouldn't live, especially with Andrew Lincoln, who plays Rick Grimes. He was dead set on not letting any of the Terminus people live, on how, basically because of how they were living. What was the setup like leading into that infamous scene where everybody was in the church and you guys got butchered?
what explains what do you mean by setup?
I
Like,
mean, what was like? I've heard stories on how Andrew Lincoln, once he goes on the set, he goes into character and he stays into character throughout the whole day. What was the atmosphere like when filming that scene when the massacre happened in the church?
that's funny because that was not my experience with Andrew Lincoln.
Ah,
I actually like remember I was sitting there in one of the front pews of the church waiting for my scene to be filmed, and I think he'd already done like his big, huge, long thing, so maybe he was like kind of giving himself a break or rest afterwards. But we were sitting there, and somehow Love Actually came up, and I was just sitting there. I was like, I watch that every Christmas.
yeah, yeah,
And he
yeah.
turned to me and he just was like, "You're not a cannibal at all. You're like really sweet." So it was definitely not him being in character, that conversation.
Well, that's good to know. That's good to know. Here, a little different side about Andy Lincoln. When it came down to shooting it, it all happened so quickly. They were, of course, focused on Rick taking out Gareth, but we know Abraham and Sasha were participating in the massacre as well. We don't get to see them except through like the wide angle lens in regards to what Michael Cudlitz was doing and Sonequa. Uh, but you were a part of that group that was getting massacred, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Do you know who took you out in particular?
Yeah, Michonne killed me.
Ah,
There's a
okay.
quick shot of it.
Uh,
It's hard to see. I mean, I'm wearing a black leg or whatever, but I had a fun little like thing. She hit me with her with a rifle.
did they look like, I don't know, this is going to probably sound like a twisted question, but Andrew, Michael Cudlitz, and Iqua, denied, did they look like they were having fun, just, I don't know, hacking up dummies? Speaking of mannequins, just going to town on them and so on.
I mean, they look like when you film them. When you see it, that's what they look like. Anyway,
All right. Now, Terminus was a community. Did they give you this backstory? We got to see it as viewers. Terminus was originally a safe haven, like we hear Gareth explain. It was originally a safe haven. They were overrun, which led them to start living like cannibals and just inviting people in so they can basically eat them. Did they give you that backstory as an actress and being a part of the Terminus community?
so no, but and we wouldn't have known it at the time that we filmed it because it wouldn't have,
Yeah,
aired yet. I don't think it did. Oh gosh, I can't
it's
remember.
been a while.
But I did look, yeah, so maybe it had. I can't remember. But I found out the day before I was shooting who I was, and I
Uh-huh.
had very limited information. Um, but my character Teresa was in the comics,
Yes.
and I found that out. I don't even know if I was supposed to know that or not, but I looked it up and looked up the backstory of the Terminables is what we're going to call them now.
Yeah, I like that.
I looked up, what I could from the comic books and whatnot, and I've been kind of keeping up with the comic books best I could, because I always like playing the game of predict where they're going to go or what story they're going to use. Comics.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Now,
yeah.
we all hear the stories, especially on a show like The Walking Dead. They keep everything very tight-lipped, very guarded. Were you only given parts of the script that just involved yourself, or were you given like four walls and a roof? Were you able to read the whole script? No, I didn't think so. Yeah, they just gave you your part, and that's it, right? Oh, you froze. Let's see if we can get April back. Oh, there we go. Hold on. One second, guys. Let me get April back. I gotta love when that happens. I hope her Wi-Fi didn't go down. Let me try again. All right, we got you back? There we go. We got you.
Yeah.
We got you. We got you. So the question was, did they, we know how tight-lipped they are in secrecy. In your episodes that you appeared in, did they just give you only part of the script that involved your scenes, or did you get access to the whole script?
I only got the parts that involved my scenes, but I think that some of the bigger characters, like for instance, like Andrew West, like I'm pretty sure he got to read the entire script. But they're very, very careful about that on the show. I mean, I think the episode that I was on on Four Walls in a Church, actually, there was somebody who had like snuck onto the set, like through a bush or something. It was, so they like trying to film stuff, and I remember it was like a big deal. They had to like go catch him and stuff. I was like, "Woo, okay." So, like tight and secure with all of that.
Absolutely, we hear all those stories on just they got to be careful. They got to be careful these days. Going into this show, you've done quite a bit of horror since then as well. Would you consider yourself a horror fan?
Yes and no. Like I haven't always been a horror fan. My first experiences with horror were like my siblings when I was very young, making me watch things like Chucky or the Candyman. And I was like a little kid, so like I remember sleeping outside my room for like almost a month to protect my family from my like stuffed animals and dolls. Like that really happened. So it like took me a while because I was so easily scared. Like even like there was a Scooby-Doo episode in a haunted mansion when I was a kid that I remember where like Shaggy, sorry. Shaggy looked into a haunted mirror and it's his evil self, and his evil self jumps out and laughs and puts him in the mirror.
Yeah.
And like I never saw in the episode where he got back out of the mirror, and I avoided mirrors for a whole year.
I don't know. We're going to stay on this Scooby-Doo topic because I never watched Scooby-Doo growing up, but I have 3 teenagers. So them growing up, I actually did watch along with them quite a bit of Scooby-Doo. And some of those Scooby-Doo episodes are pretty damn freaky.
They're scary.
Yeah. They are.
Yeah. But I've kind of come to love it as I've gotten into it. I think I first started getting cast in like scary stuff. Like one of my first horror films ever was this movie called Andre the Butcher years ago. That's like, oh yeah. Well, now people will probably watch it because I brought it up. But I mean, it's funny. It's like campy. It's like a culty, style film. But but I like as I got into it and like saw how things were done and whatnot, it really made me appreciate it more and more. And I really like I tend to like psychological thrillers
Me
because there's
too.
so many different like genres and subgenres
Yeah.
and whatnot of horror. So there's certainly ones that I like better. Like I probably still won't watch scary doll movies.
Like Annabelle is definitely not on your queue. No. Okay.
but like but in a way I think it's good that I've gotten into it and like them now and I'm into it and I've met all these fans and I think it's really awesome because it's all about like pushing those boundaries and
Hmm.
going, are you scared of that? Let's go there. Let's go beyond there. Let's do something even like what's the creepiest, grossest, whatever, most taboo thing and let's make a movie about it. You know, like I just think there's something great and about that and about like the community that says, yeah, let's
Yeah.
do gut. I don't know. And yeah, I've come to like really love and appreciate both horror films and horror fans, even if now I feel like people are going to come up to me at conventions with scary dolls. Like, like, please don't do that. Please don't do that.
Would you say you being in horror movies helped you appreciate the genre and maybe become less afraid of it? Because obviously shooting
In
it
general.
is a whole different experience, right? It's not scary to shoot it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and like learning how it's done and whatnot. And, you know, now when I see blood, I think sticky and yummy. I don't think, ooh, blood. I think tastes like corn syrup. Like, but then sometimes that happens when I see real blood too, which is probably not good. Might be turning into a
Desensitized
vampire.
you.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Now, has there been any movie that you starred in that when you saw the final product, it actually freaked you out? Might have even scared you a little bit? Okay, so that's good. That's definitely a good start. Uh, moving forward in your career, are I mean, as any actor, I assume you want to expand your horizons, do all sorts of different roles and whatnot. But do you particularly enjoy doing horror movies?
Oh, I love it. Yeah. And I love the fans and yeah, I feel like the community really has an indie spirit and I'm into that. And I think you can really, as I was mentioning before, I think you can push boundaries with it. I think that you get there's some really awesome roles with really great arcs. And you know, you can be badass and die all sorts of fun ways. I mean, I love dying. I might have, according to the interwebs and somebody who wrote an article about it, I might have set a record for dying the same night that I died on Four Walls in a Church. I died on this other series that I was a recurring character on called Resurrection. And they were first airings of both shows. And I died, they had the same time slot. So I died within 10 minutes of each other.
That has to
It,
be in the Guinness Book of World Records. Come on. I mean,
it might be a record. Yeah.
let's
So,
move. Oh,
yeah.
I mean that's definitely something to be proud of. I have never heard or seen anybody on a live airing of two separate episodes dying in two different shows within minutes of each other. That's pretty damn cool. Let's go into another movie that you appeared in. Another popular movie called The Dark Red. It's an incredible movie. The ending was really badass. How fun was it shooting those ending scenes in The Big Red? The
The
Dark
Dark.
Red, sorry.
Yeah. So the entire movie was probably my favorite thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it was my friend. I got to work with my friends. But the ending scenes are like, yeah, definitely awesome because the rest of the movie. I'm trying not to give anything away. If you haven't seen it yet, y'all should watch it. You can watch it on Amazon the Amazon Video if you have
Yeah.
Prime, you can watch it, and then also it's on Tubi for free if you don't have that. So yeah, so the Act 3 stuff, it was it was like so cathartic
Hmm.
because of all the crap my character had gone through, all the
Yeah.
crap Sybil had like lived through. It was, yeah, I love kicking ass. I like,
now, Now, The
Yeah.
Dark Red is definitely what I would call a psychological thriller.
Mhm.
Doing a psychological thriller as opposed to other subgenres in the horror, is there any kind of different preparation as an actor that you need to do? Because psychological thrillers, it's not about blood, guts, gore. It's all about character building, character based, and having the viewer engage with that character, which you did brilliantly in The Dark Red. How is it? Did you do any kind of preparation that was different from any of the other stuff that you might have done?
I think every role is unique
Mm-hmm.
in how you prepare. Um, so some of the things I did extra for the Dark Red weren't necessarily in my acting part of it, because for me, if you're playing a character that might or might not be crazy,
Mm-hmm.
they never think that they're crazy.
Exactly.
So it's, as long as you know that, you just prepare like it's your, you believe it, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. The what you just said is like, how do you explain to somebody who's in the middle of a psychotic break, hey, you're in the middle of a psychotic break, because according to them, they're fine. You're the one that's off.
Well, and I think that for me, I don't, some people when we did like talkbacks for the movie would be like, "Oh, it's obvious. It's this way or it's that way." For me, it was never obvious, even when it was finished, that it was this way or that way. Does that make sense? That
Yeah,
she,
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. And it's a lot depending on a matter of perspective on how the viewers interpret, whether it's a
yeah.
scene or entire movie. What was the audition like for Sybil? And did it differ from any other types of
Yeah.
auditions? You said you did it with friends, so did you even have to audition?
I did. I did. Dan Bush is the director.
Mm-hmm.
He's phenomenal. Um, I came in to this on, so he'd asked me to read for it, but he was reading other people as well, and I was like, oh, I know this is a good, like I just knew it was a good role for me. You know, you're just like, oh, I can do this. This is gonna be awesome. But it was funny because the night before I went in for the audition, like I like bumped my eye or something happened to my eye,
Uh-huh.
and like I don't know if you've ever gotten this where your eyes gotten super bloodshot, and then it's
Yeah.
like there's like a giant like there was like a giant red like
Yeah.
spot in my eye that looked like I looked crazy. I looked like I could be beat up, like, and I just remember looking at myself in the mirror and being like, works.
Exactly.
And being like, I'm just gonna own it. And yeah, so that was kind of funny and fun. And then I just, went in there and let loose and did my thing. So
When you went to audition, did you already read the script for the movie?
the script was only partially done when I auditioned.
Okay.
So the way we actually made the movie was we filmed one act at a time, and there was time in between. And we filmed the psychologist stuff last.
Okay.
And that was kind of a trick to indie movie making, that if we missed anything, we could fill it in the talky bits. Shh, don't tell. But I think it worked for us. So the script, there was like an outline of it, and then they were really still building it, and it was cool because they took my input on it. Certainly they, Dan and Connell are the writers, like, definitely, but like if I had interesting things or whatnot, they would always consider, and we kind of developed the character together. Like, I know I had an influence, so that was really neat.
Was there something in particular that attracted you to the character of Sybil? Or just the overall thing? You're like, you definitely want to be this character.
I mean, I love any character that goes. I mean, she has such a range she goes through.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And to me, that's always like, ooh, like, cool, like, yes, can I do it? It's a challenge. It's a challenge as an actress going, can I do that? Can I put myself there? And then also just, to me, that's fun too,
Yeah.
because not just it's not easy. It's not something simple. It's something that you really have to show up for and bring your all to.
Hmm.
And I love that. Like I'm not one to. I mean, I'll take an easy role too, but I mean,
People, you can easily make the argument that there are some similarities between The Dark Red and like Rosemary's Baby. You think Rosemary's Baby played any kind of influence on the writers? I know you didn't write it, but
yeah,
okay,
yeah, for sure.
it definitely played an influence. Now let's go on to something different. You appeared in an episode of The Vampire Diaries. What was that experience like?
Um, that was that was lovely. I wasn't being weird. I was thinking about being a vampire. Okay, wait, that was still weird. Okay, it's fine. um, that was a really, really great experience. That was one of the first big like network things I ever booked. It was so exciting and so fun to go to that set and, um, get made up. And then we were shooting out in the woods and had to like do the, pause thing where they're like, we're gonna kill you and then bring you back to life and then kill you again. And it's like, apparently that's become a pattern for me. um, and I got to cry blood out of my eyeballs. Like I was like, this is a dream come true. That sounds silly, but it kind of is because you're like, it's not real, but it's real. It's not real. Like it's like, it was my first like big. I get to play make believe. Um,
Well,
and have a real
that's
role.
that's the whole fun part of it. Now, have you ever landed a role in a franchise or sort of a story like the Vampire Diaries, Vampires? You were also in Star Trek, First Frontier.
Yeah.
Uh, did you ever land a role that put you in a franchise like, I don't know if you're a Star Trek fan or if you're a fan of vampires, but you landed a role in something that was, meaningful to you growing up as a child into your early, late teens, 20s, that you were like, oh man, I am just so psyched about this one.
I mean, the thing that I was most psyched about was probably The Dark Red, but that's obviously not a franchise for my childhood. I you know,
Well, growing up, let me put it to you this way. Growing up as a teen, okay, what films or TV shows attracted you the most? Like, which ones would you particularly set
well,
out to watch?
I would say Vampire Diaries would be the closest to something like that I was really into as a kid.
Okay.
Um, I watched the original Charmed as a kid,
Okay.
super into that. But then I'm giving my age away here. It's okay.
It's actually public knowledge. It's on the internet.
Uh, what can you do? Um, no, actually, I don't mind people knowing, but I am going to make y'all look it up. I'm not going to say it on the show. Uh, yeah. So I mean, I was into. I would love to do something that's like magic and horror. Yeah.
Okay.
Like so. I guess that's why I think like Vampire Diaries was close because it has magic in it. And I got to be a werewolf, and werewolves. I'm into that.
Me too.
Me too. I'm into witches too. I haven't gotten to be a witch yet, so
Hey,
we'll see.
plenty of time left. Were there any challenging scenes or moments for filming either The Dark Red or The Perfect One? Any particular sequence of events that were just physically or emotionally challenging?
Did you watch The Perfect One?
I've watched The Dark Red. I have not seen The Perfect One
Okay.
yet.
The Perfect One got renamed. It's called Mommy Murder Group.
Oh,
It premiered on Lifetime, and it's a really cool movie. Y'all should check it out if you're into mommies and murder. I might have a niche here. Uh, um, So my character in Mommy Murder Group, also used to be known as Perfect One, uh, was locked up in a basement for. She's locked up in a basement. I don't want to give it away because now I'm like,
Well, it's
ooh,
all right. I mean, here on the show, listen, if people are watching,
people
they know we
watching,
give
like, you
spoilers.
got a spoiler.
Yeah, yeah, we're fine. So,
Sorry.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so my character, you meet her at the very beginning of the movie, and then you don't meet her again until like halfway through the movie, and you find out that she's been locked up in a basement the whole movie, and this crazy mom is using it has stolen her baby and is using my character for breast milk, and has killed my husband. You totally want to watch this movie now, don't you?
It sounds intriguing. I'll give you that much.
So like we had a whole scene where I had like a ball gag on and I'm screaming. Um, and it's funny because I mean, there's always, I feel like anytime you really go there, like emotionally, it's always a bit of a like, oh, okay, I need to like let go of that now. Like, same with
Yeah.
like, when they ate my placenta or whatever, and the dark red, giving away all the things.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
But yeah, yeah, and then I always love movies where I get to learn new things too. Like I went to the gun range for The Dark Red to learn how to shoot properly, and then there's another movie I did long called 12 Lives of Sissy Carlisle. It's not genre really at all, but I had to learn to shoot a bow and arrow for that, and I just thought I always love it when I'm like, I don't know how to do this. I get to learn
Exactly.
because yeah, and then hopefully I don't. Then hopefully they, I learn well enough that I look like I know what I'm doing.
It's one of the perks of the job. One of the perks of the job. You were in another project called Resurrection.
Mhm.
You have done a lot of projects. Any favorite scenes that you did that particularly stand out for you in Resurrection?
For Resurrection, like that, there's a dinner table scene.
Mm-hmm.
There's, eight of us around the dinner table, and Kurtwood and Francis Fisher and the woman who plays Catelyn Stark, and I mean, just like I'm at a dinner table with these like legends,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and um, and it's a whole like back and forth whatnot. And I don't know how much you've been on like if you've done any dinner table scenes on set, but they always take a really long time because you never expect it. But when you have like eight people sitting around a dinner table, it's very difficult to get coverage. So even if it's a short scene, it takes like all day. Um, but it was kind of fun because um, it felt like we were family, and then I got like berated out by, Frances Fisher. And I was like, she destroyed me emotionally, but I'm like, this is my dream. And then, like, chased me out to dinner. It's good. That was awesome.
You mentioned Catelyn Stark. That's a Game of Thrones reference. Are you a big Game of Thrones fan?
Oh, I love Game of Thrones.
All
Yeah.
right. Let me ask you this question. If you had a chance to play any character on Game of Thrones, who would you have loved to play? Not try to take this like who would you be best suited to play as an actress, but who would you have loved to play?
Okay. I'm thinking.
It's a
Okay,
tough one.
I'm pulling up a list so I can. You know what? It's not actually that tough for me now that I think about it. Arya.
Arya. Well,
Arya.
Arya is your. I mean, she was young. We saw her as a young woman in the beginning of the premiere of the series. She grew up, became very cold hearted. She saved them from the army of the dead. She's the one that took out the Night King. Definitely the badass of the group. Now, her sister, the character, which I'm forgetting her sister's name on the show, and that is very bad
Sansa.
because What?
Sansa.
Sansa. Thank you.
She goes through like hell, and I know most people would say they want to be Daenerys, but like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'd be alright.
Daenerys, Khaleesi was by far a very popular character. And for me, from the male side, I
Who would
was,
you be?
I'd be Jon Snow. Or Aegon Targaryen, as we find out his real name. You see, I give spoilers.
I mean, if you haven't seen Game of Thrones, come on.
Exactly, exactly. Now, you recently worked on Dead by Midnight, which includes Hannah
Yeah.
Fierman, um, as well as one of our other upcoming guests, Kane Hodder. Uh, do you have any stories working? Now, I know you and Hannah are good friends.
Yeah, we
Uh,
are.
you both seem to love working with people you know, friends in particular. It's a very friendly environment.
I like to
Any
with whoever, but it's fun. It's fun to work with. It's always like a blast when you're like, "Hey, friends!" Because I don't know, it's
Hannah
hard.
seems like a real blast to be on the set with. Any fun stories to share about Dead by Midnight?
No, she kind of just like we're really good friends, so she gave me. Oh, actually, I do have a fun story. So we're really good friends. She wrote and directed an episode, and guys, when it comes out, you gotta watch it. It's brilliant. My bestie's brilliant. She's
Uh-huh.
also in the wraparound, acting in the wraparound, and then she wrote and directed this piece, which is like she. I'm just gonna brag about my friend for a minute.
No, that's fine. She was our guest just a couple days ago.
Okay, yeah. So she has got such an interesting perspective. I think she's a fantastic director because of how she sees the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like she sees really dark stuff and just thinks it's funny. Um, and and because of that, she's got this amazing sense of humor that she wraps into this creepy stuff that is like I think that she's really if she wants to continue pursuing directing, I think she's really going to go far because she
Oh,
has such a unique perspective. Things that you know you're not going to see or get from anybody else because her mind's just that is who she is, you know. And so
and
anyway, she
she's not afraid to just share that with you and let her creative side just come out. And I asked her the other day, if she would had a choice to continue, whether it's acting or producing, directing, she didn't even hesitate. Producing all the way. She loves to
really
make films, and she loves bringing the creative side that comes from producing. And I mean, of course, she would love to
as a
continue being.
friend, I'm like, no, she needs to be a director.
And I
What you
mean,
talking
and she did not hesitate at all. I mean, yeah, she still loves to be an actress, but her heart lies in producing. It's just because of the whole creative aspect that producers get to bring to a project. Now, do you have any aspirations to do any behind the scenes stuff, directing, producing, whatnot?
So unknown fact about me, I went to film school for production at Florida State.
Okay.
Um, and I got in. I did a little like short film producing like long time ago, and I have like a bunch of random credits from film school like on my IMDb. It's like sound mixer. I'm like, no, guys, no, I don't know about that. Don't. I appreciate it, but I can't do it. But for me, I coach actors. Like that's one thing that I really love doing is teaching other actors and whatnot. And
Okay.
because of that, I think that I would really enjoy directing, but I'm not really pursuing it. I love acting first and foremost, um, and I could see myself potentially directing if like it happened to fall in my lap or something. But I'm not like I don't need to do anything else. I just think it might be fun if the budget was good enough. I think it's a very stressful thing to do on lower budget projects,
Yeah.
which is why I really enjoy acting and coming in and getting to do the emotional work because I think it's a very different headspace to be in to do the production work. And I so admire the people that go back and forth and do both.
So in Dead by Midnight, was it Hannah that brought you on? She didn't make you audition, did she?
No, no,
No,
she
okay.
wasn't she. Her script is mainly, um, is it a Hell Evangelist?
Mm,
Do you know?
yes.
Thing? Yeah, and her scripts, like, I'm not one of the main characters. She's just like, you're gonna come on and do this funny little bit part for me, and she wrote it for me basically, and was like, you're gonna do this, and it was great. And I'll talk more about it when you guys see the movie or whatever.
Exactly when
Um,
it comes out.
yeah.
Now, uh, let's go back. When did you decide that? I've heard many stories, actors become actors because they're sort of backed into it. They were in the right place at the right time. They went along with a friend who went to audition and they ended up auditioning, and the rest is history. How did you get into acting?
Gosh.
I mean, was it always as growing up as a little girl, you just had.
It was always a dream of mine. I can tell you actually my very first memory, in a way, I think led me towards wanting to be an actor, because one of my first memories was realizing I was only myself
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't be any other people. And I
What?
thought, well, if I want to be other people. um, so I think I was always kind of destined for it. I did my first paid production in a play when I was 10. I played Pearl in The Scarlet Letter.
And you got
And
paid?
mhm, it was
Wow.
at a playhouse in downtown Atlanta. Yeah.
Not bad, not bad. So,
So I never became like a child actor, did any of that. I didn't start pursuing it again until I was on my own,
when
which I think.
was, like so many other actors, starting out on stage at the age of 10, when was the last time you actually did a stage production?
I actually had a nonprofit for a little while. We dissolved it recently, COVID and
Yeah.
work life and all of that. But I had a nonprofit called Act for a Change, and we would get different creatives in Atlanta to write and direct and act. And we did like a short like series of one acts nights, and then we would have people vote on which one was their favorite, and each like team had a charity they chose, and then we'd give all of the proceeds, all of the money we made to that charity.
That's so nice.
Um, yeah, so I acted in one of those, and that was pretty recently. And then I did another like uh, type of short night like that for another company in Atlanta, right before COVID, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what was your first project in front of a camera that you would say was your first professional paying gig in front of a camera, not on stage?
Well, I got cut out. But I got cast as a goth chick on One Tree Hill on this episode,
Oh
and then
man, and they cut your scene out?
yeah, I had like one line. It was one word. The pacing didn't work. It's kind of like once I went to film school, I kind of understood why things would get cut,
Yeah.
because you're a lot of times you're like, oh, it has nothing to do with me. I mean, sure it could, but most of the time, if you're a smaller role, it's just for time or for
Hmm.
like clarity of story, and like so I never take it personally anymore. But that was pretty rough for my first project. You're just like, oh,
And it was such a
but
popular show too.
yeah, and I mean it was the same. I think same creators, producers, and all that did Vampire Diaries.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, I did end up getting to do something else with them. Yeah, it was a popular show. It was a really great experience, regardless of that. But that was my first network booking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you a native of Atlanta? Were you raised there, born there? I mean, I ask this a lot because it still boggles my mind on how big of a TV film mecca Atlanta has become. Uh, would you say, I mean, the first project that I ever heard being done in Atlanta was The Walking Dead, but it appears that it goes, I mean, I know now for a fact, there is a lot of shooting, movies, television that happen in Atlanta. How does that make you feel about your hometown?
I mean, I'm delighted. My husband works behind the scenes, and so he always has the IATSE list, and will like read down, to me all the things they're filming, and it's always just like, oh my gosh, it's so much, it's so great. Yeah, so it's been pretty awesome. I lived in LA for a little while, and actually came back here around the time that things started to pick up, which was way before, well, a few years before Walking Dead
Hmm.
really um, got going strong, I think. So.
So let's say a young actress comes up to you, aspiring. Would you say to them, "Yeah, go to L.A. That's where you need to go," or would you say, if you have a better chance in Atlanta, what advice would you give them as to if they're looking to move? Let's say they live in small town America somewhere, and they're an aspiring actor. Where would you tell them to go for their best chance to catch a break?
Probably Atlanta.
Because LA is just flooded with everything.
Yeah, because a lot of people go to LA and Atlanta, you know, they cast locals for the things that film because they don't have to pay to fly somebody in for the smaller roles. So if you're
Yeah.
starting out, and you're looking to get smaller roles to begin with, you're gonna get a lot more experience and have a lot better chance coming to Atlanta. But I'd also say to any aspiring actress, do what makes you happy.
Hmm.
Because I also feel like, even though I said, oh, I would say this, I also feel like there's no one path, that everybody has their path. And being somebody who teaches actors and a lot of young actors and things like that, it's really important to me to sort of impress upon them that it's about enjoying your life,
Yeah.
having, and however way you can make acting a part of your life, that it enriches it, and brings you joy. Because I find with so many young actors, so much rejection and whatnot, that
Yeah.
it can really, if you don't put it in the right perspective, it can, take its toll. So.
Exactly. You gotta have a very thick skin in this industry. Now, it sounds like teaching actors, it really means a lot to you. First of all, you don't have any kind of brick or mortar acting studio yet, do you?
Oh, no, not at the moment. A friend of mine is actually launching her studio, and it's not open yet. But I'm sort of in between for right now, and I'm gonna coach at her studio when she opens up. So I'll announce it on Facebook and my Instagrams and stuff. I'll make sure people know where
Would
they
you
can find.
love one day to be able to open up your own acting studio?
Nope.
No, just right
Yeah.
now you're just happy, whether it's you coming on the set with an up and coming actor, actress, and just giving them advice, and doing the thing at your friend's acting studio and helping out, but no aspirations down the line, maybe 10, 15, 20 years from now. Uh,
Listen, I don't know where I'm going to be 20 years from now. Let's be real. But um, I actually am launching a skincare company right now. It's
okay.
called Be Lifted Botanicals, beliftedbotanicals.com. It's a CBD skincare company. It's a lot of work to start a company.
Hmm.
Um, it's a lot. And so just to me, I'm just like, no, I don't want to start my own studio right now, because I know what it's like to start a business. And that is that I don't want the business side of it to take away from my joy of the actual thing that I like doing.
Okay, that totally makes sense. Do you have any preference between film or television?
No, because I feel like television has raised the bar so
Oh
much,
yeah.
and there's so many different avenues and mediums now that uh, television can be just as, I mean, the Marvel television shows, like they've given them basically the same budget as the movies.
Yeah.
I mean, I just feel like there's not as much of a divide as there
No.
used to be.
No, no, and especially now, post, well, not post yet, but we're starting to see a light at the end of the tunnel with COVID here in the U.S. Studios, production companies, distribution, they've had to adjust. They were going down that path, but COVID forced everything to happen a lot sooner than they were prepared for. And you see all these different companies trying out different models on how to release movies at home and to limited theaters and maximize their profits at the same time. And depending on the studio and what film they release, you will see like Spiral, the new movie Spiral that came out. I talked about this yesterday. They're trying out $20 movie rentals for where you rent the movie on video on demand. It's out available now, and it's also still in theaters, I believe. And you $20, you rent it for 48 hours. Now, $20 most of the time buys you a movie, not just rents it.
Yeah.
So it's just an example of how different studios are just trying out different models, and they're just trying to find their way on what's going to stick and what's going to work. What would you say is your all-time favorite horror movie?
Mm. Okay, this is um I'm not sure that you would exactly classify it as a horror movie, but I already mentioned to you that I like
Psychological.
psychological. So I kind of classify it as a horror movie in that way. It's Requiem for a Dream.
Okay, I've seen that. No, I could
Um,
definitely see that. Yeah,
yeah, and it's the character work is incredible. It's a complete mind f, like just full and complete, like the world it drags you into. I mean, you can't get it. I mean, it's just. I think it's just a masterpiece and very well done. It's certainly not a movie I'd want to watch again and again and again, but definitely like a movie I'm never ever gonna forget.
exactly. It's just one of those things that it just sears a little part of itself in your memory forever. What would you say was
Well,
your would you well, first of all, uh continuing in acting, are you still finding yourself you're learning different stuff? Not only about acting, but about the industry. You've been in it for a while now. To this day, you're still learning new stuff? Or
I am
have
a life learner as a human being. I always want to learn new things. So, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
has there ever been a role that you've turned down?
Um,
Without mentioning the role, I'm not going to ask you that, but just a basic general question. Has there ever been a role that you've turned down for one reason or another?
if you consider like a not turning down a non-paying role, turning
Okay.
down,
Okay.
I've turned down roles that didn't pay anything, and mainly like with indies, if it sounds like I would turn down a role if it seems like it's probably not actually going to get made,
Okay.
you know. Yeah.
When do you know in the entertainment industry you audition, you get a role? I mean, have there been films that have actually filmed and just have never been released?
That's like 50% of indie movies.
Really? That
Maybe,
high?
maybe 75%. So yeah,
Wow.
I don't turn down indie roles, but it's like, for me, if it's an indie and it's really low paying, I really want the script to be really good and the character to be really interesting. And if you're gonna pay me my full SAG day rate, yeah, I'm never gonna turn that down. Well, I'd never say never. I mean, maybe one day, but probably not. Like, I mean, unless schedule conflicts or whatever, um,
Exactly. Exactly.
but yeah, and
Wow.
most of these never see the light of day. So it's just, I think it's important to be mindful about working with people who actually finish their work. Yeah.
I did not think that number was going to be that high. That surprised me. That
Have you,
real
you ever asked anybody else about that?
No, you're the first one.
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I won't be the only actor to tell you that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
all, we all kind of know that most indies, especially low budget indies, don't ever get released here.
Yeah. It all depends on so many different things, investors, financing, and whatnot. Uh,
Sometimes you get into an argument. The filmmakers get into an argument and then they can't decide on rights. And so it gets
oh
shelved.
God, rights. that has been the death of so many projects, and
Yeah.
duh, that's a whole story on itself. We are actually out of time. This hour just flew by.
Well, I had
Uh,
so much talking to you. Thank
it's
you so
been great talking to you. I've never talked to a cannibal before.
Mmm. Leg.
You had a part of barbecue, the infamous barbecue leg.
Did.
April, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute treat having you here, talking to you, having you share your experience with us. Any final thoughts before we go?
Thanks for having me and
Absolutely. It's
having my
been our
prepared.
pleasure. Our
Yeah.
pleasure. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, April, for joining us. Till tomorrow, guys, we have Damien Maffei. Hannah corrected me on his name. I called him Maffei. She's like, it's Maffei. I'm like, ooh, excuse the F out of me.
Well, enjoy getting to know him. He's really awesome too.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, April. Guys, till tomorrow, stay safe, stay walking. Good night.